Section 5, Air Brakes, General Locomotive Air Brake Equipment 105. CSX Transportation Air Brake Train Handling Equipment Handling Train Brake Rule Book. CSX. Section 5. Air brakes, general locomotive air brake equipment, 5700 telemetry equipment trains, all trains equipment except for the note of the rule 5701, the freight train exception 5702, the passenger train exception 5703, inspection train inspections, and 5950 en route and failures must be equipped with the properly armed and tested and operable two-way telemetry. Note that when they are using the rules, 2% of the grade may be graded designated with the 2 special instruction, 1% grade may be graded designated with the 1% special instructions. 5701 freight train exemptions. Freight trains may meet one of the conditions listed below. Do not require the two-way telemetry. Trains be able to initiate emergency brake application with the rear third of its length. Light engines. Local trains, work trains not operating on 2% grade. Training with the 4,000 trailing tons or less, or operating less than 2,000 grades. 2%, operating on less than 2% grade or not exceeding 30 miles an hour. Trains not with more than 4,000 trailing tons operating in less than 1% grade, not exceeding 30,000 miles per hour. 30% miles per hour. I gotta back out of this. Bigger. Passenger trains exception. Passenger trains meet one of the conditions listed below. Do not require the two-way telemetry. Trains which all cars are equipped with an accessible emergency brake valve. The trains that have rear car emergency brake valve accessible for the radio-equipped crew member. The trains with 24 cars or less equipped with described in the following charts operated with the required paragraph 1 requirements of the crew members of the rule. Cars 4, emergency brake valve of the car behind the second and 5th and 6th, the third car, and the emergency brake valve of the car behind the third, 5th and 7th and 8th. The fourth car behind the emergency brake valve or in the car behind the fourth of this car. 9 10th is fifth car, emergency brake valve in or in the car behind this car. 11 12 sixth car. Basically, the even number of cars starting at 2. Even number of cars divided by 2 for the first 12. And then 13 is 9, and 14 and 15 is 10, 16 is 11, the 11th emergency brake valve in or in the car behind. 19 is 13th car in the inner of the car behind the south. 21 and 20 to 21 is 14th emergency valve in the car behind this car. 22, the 15th car brake valve in the car behind the car. 23 and 24, 16th car and is behind this car. Requirements of the crew member prior to descending to 2% grade. The engineer must conform to conduct with radio equipment. The crew member stationed in the rear most emergency brake valve equipped with the car, and when descending with 2% grade, the crew member maintain the constant radio communication with the engineer until the train is descending in the grade. 5703 inspection train exemptions. Inspection trains operating passenger equipment do not require the two-way telemetry. 5750 telemetry qualifications. The following conditions are met when you can use telemetry to perform any of the when you can use telemetry to perform an air brake test to meet the two-way telemetry requirements. 5751 qualifying telemetry for the air brake test. To perform the air brake test before using the telemetry, the train must be equipped as follows. The control locomotive must have an operating HTD. The rear car must have an operative EOT, and the readouts of the EOT and the HTD must not differ from more than 3 psi. The F57 F2, the qualifying telemetry with two-way operations comply with the requirements of the two-way telemetry capability. The train must be equipped as follows, except for the noted rule 5753 coupling helper locomotive to the head end. The controller locomotive must have an operative TD capable on two-way operation. The rear car must be operative on the EOT capable two-way operation. Readouts of the EOT and the HTD must not differ more than 3 psi. The 5753 coupling helper locomotive and send the helper coupling locomotive to the train headed with the hauling locomotive. The helper locomotive is not required to be equipped with the HTD capable of two-way telemetry or to be armed with the EOT as long as the two-way radio communications established maintained between the engineers. The helper locomotive, the hauling locomotive, the engineers conform the radio communications before the train resumes operation. Reaching the rest of the grade, the train stopped, and if and when the radio communication is lost. 5800 arming telemetry of the two-way capability, and the arming telemetry of the two-way operation. Enter the ID code for the EOT and into the HDT. Press the test button for the EOT. Press the appropriate arm now button for the HDT. Certainly emergency capability established indicated with the emergency enabled an armed message. 5850 testing the two-way telemetry emergency capability. The most certain emergency capability of the two-way telemetry with either the both devices installed. 5851 bench testing. Consider emergency capability successfully tested when information informed so by the mechanical department. 5852 performing testing. The following tests below. The following steps below are charging the brake pipe with the testing emergency capability. Testing the two-way telemetry capability. Arm the telemetry car. Close the angle cock between the rear car and the EOT. Activate the emergency feature. Make certain the air pressure exhaust for the EOT and the readout of the EOT reduces to zero. Open the angle cock. Make sure that the brake pipe at the pressure is restored. 5900 series. Disarming emergency capability. Disarming two-way telemetry. A locomotive is cut off and no longer to be controlling locomotive on the train. Disarming the emergency cutout capability. Change the EOT ID code to 00000. Press the operating button to disarm. 5950 in routing failure to effects. 5951 considers two-way telemetry having failed en route which cannot be successfully armed at location other than pointing at origination, which the following message is displayed: dead battery, replaced battery, valve failure, disarmed, or front or to the rear non-communication. Note the RFNCOC is a failure message. Restriction of the train movement. RFNOCOM is a failure message. 5952 restriction of the train movement doing the entire en route failure. When the two-way telemetry fails, comply with the following restrictions unless the condition is specified in 5953. Make necessary substitution telemetry en route failure as are met. A. Freight trains do not exceed 30 miles an hour. Do not move the train on 2% grades. Passenger trains do not move the train on 2% grades. Correct the condition reaching the first location. Necessary repairs can be conducted. Air brake test is required. 5953 making necessary substitution of telemetry en route of the failure. Do not apply the 5952 restriction train movement due to the en route of the failure under the failure conditions. A. Freight train do not apply the 5952 either occupied help locomotive occupied caboose shoving the platform capable initial emergency application of the brakes coupled with the rear of the employees at the front of the rear, establishing and maintaining two-way voice radio communication with either, verifying communication just prior to the cresting grade. Stop the train if it is safe to do so. If the communication fails before the cresting grade, place the train brakes an emergency train speed exceeding the maximum speed authorized by 5 miles per hour. A radio-controlled locomotive capability initiating the emergency application on the command of the control locomotive is rear of the one-third of the train under the control of the head of the engine engineer. B. The passenger trains do not apply the 5952 radio equipment crews position in the rearmost containing accessible emergency brake valve. Make periodic brake tests accordance with the Rule 5209 emergency train passenger train running air brake tests using until failure is corrected. 5954 reporting telemetry device defects immediately. The EOT number the condition of the train dispatcher yard master. Then when any of the following condition affects the telemetry normal operation: low failed battery, lost communication between devices, loss of lack of the emergency capability, defective inoperative marker motion detector, air pressure sensing equipment. Report the HCD problem related to the transportation dispatch yard, mechanical desk, and locomotive work report. Appendix.